Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10 and support the channel at the same time. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. There's a lot happening, as always, and we're going to talk a lot about some big buyouts this week at the end of the video, and a lot of stuff going on that you need to know about if you're ever thinking about buying some of the more expensive cards out there. We're going to discuss Dominaria's impact again on Standard as well as the casual market. A lot of good Commander cards right now that are hot thanks to the new cards coming in from Dominaria. There's just a lot going on. I want to get started pretty quick here. Just really fast though, before we do begin, if you are ever thinking about, how can I help out the channel? Well, just check out the description below. You'll find a few ways, one of which is our Patreon page. Also, beyond that, you'll find product links to our products on Amazon. If you make any purchases on Amazon, actually, no matter what it is, once you go through the initial link, we'll get a small percentage. Then finally, Flipside Gaming still offering a promo code for our viewers. Hopefully, you can save some cash while you support the channel at the same time. And with that being said, again, thank you not only to everyone who looks at those, but to all our viewers. You all make the channel what it is. Let's get into it. We're going to start off, as we always do, with Standard in the top 5 Standard legal cards that have lost value this week. Just a reminder, we won't be talking about Dominaria cards today, since we did a companion video a couple days ago about those prices. I'll link it at the end of this video in case you missed it. The prices you're going to see today, though, definitely have been heavily influenced by the first week of Standard since Dominaria's release. Coming in at number 5, Virtuous Gearhulk, down 28 cents to $3.25. Maybe this card didn't have as big of a week 1 as some people anticipated. However, this card saw a lot of Standard play. It looked pretty good, too. It was in those mono green vehicles decks, for example. Also in the ever-popular Constrictor decks. So, I don't know. It's going down. What do you people want from this card? Don't know if it can do much more for you. I do expect it to see more play, though, in the coming weeks. Number 4, Vraska Relic Seeker, down 30 cents to $8. She's seeing a little bit of play, usually like 2-ofs and Sultai mid-range builds. You also see her sometimes like as a 1-of in the board as some other decks. But again, just not enough copies out there to warrant even the $8 price tag at this point. And considering this is an Ixalan card, even though it is a mythic, and there's of course less of those than any other rarity, Ixalan has really flooded the market. And unless this card can find a bigger foothold, it's going to keep dipping. And I think that's where we're at. I'd imagine within a few weeks this could be down closer to the $6 or $5 range. Number 3, Dire Fleet Daredevil, down 39 cents to $8. This card is going to have a turbulent next few weeks, I think. It's still a good card. I'll mention the positives first, then I'll tell you what's going on with it. Still sees play in Modern. Sometimes it's like a 1-of out of the boards, but in popular decks like Humans, and some others too, we'll just have to see how that works out for the card long term. Aside from that, in Standard, Mono Red is still a thing. Mono Red aggro and Rakdos aggro showed up last week, even though Dominaria was in the format, and they still put up good results. And also, you have the Challenger deck, the Mono Red one in particular, that came out recently, and a lot of folks might want to upgrade and add some of these to it. With that being said, though, here's the issue with the card that I saw in week 1. First off, blue, white, green, those colors started getting a little bit better in the meta, definitely, as Dominaria is bringing a lot of powerful cards. We saw control decks doing really well, we saw mono green vehicles, the historic deck. So with that kind of influence going on, Dire Fleet Daredevil is not going to disappear from the meta, but we'll just see less percentage of play because there's just other competitive options out there for people to pick up and play that they might be more drawn to because they're newer or what have you. Secondly, I even noticed that a lot of the aggro decks were running less of these. In some cases, weren't running any, partially because this got elbowed out a little bit with cards like Goblin Chain Whirler entering the format. So even though this card isn't going to go away, I do think it sees a lot less play than maybe it saw just a few weeks ago, and this will come down a little more in the short term, no doubt. Number 2, Rekindling Phoenix, down 57 cents to $29.39. This one, everything I said about the last card, you could pretty much just say about this one. The new cards coming in are just watering down the format a little bit. Now this is a mythic as opposed to a rare, so this will do a better job at holding value. But much like the previous card, I have seen this pushed out of even the mono red aggro deck sometimes. Goblin Chain Whirler costs 1 less, and it's a very good card, even though this one can be more persistent. But with Glorybringers coming out of the sideboard, I've seen a lot of decks just not playing this at all now, or just playing 1 or 2 copies. Number 1, the Scarab God, down 83 cents to $25.99. This card's been declining pretty rapidly. I don't really expect that to change anytime soon. This has got a lot going against it right now. There's a lot of graveyard hate out there that people are playing out of boards, not only to deal with this, but also to deal with the gift decks. In particular, the mono red one looked really good last week. So the Scarab God sometimes is just going to be collateral damage to people trying to defend against that deck. But also, this card is good enough to sideboard against just on its own, in my opinion. Aside from that, though, it's also starting to approach the dreaded rotation time this fall. So if you're going to buy a $20, $25 card, this might not be the direction you want to go at this point. You might just go and play a different deck. So it is still there. It's not completely gone, but you're seeing more like 1-ofs and 2-ofs in some of the control builds and some of the mid-rangey builds, but not as many or nearly as many decks as it used to be in, and not in the same quantities. All right, let's move on to the top 5 standard cards that have gained value this week. Number 5, the Immortal Sun, up $2.20 to $13. And I'll tell you right now, this price is being propped up more by Commander than anything. It has seen some standard play. Sometimes you'll see a copy in like the mono green vehicles decks, or a copy in a control deck here or there, even if it's out of the sideboard, but really not in the amounts to warrant a $13 price tag. This is more about the casual scene. Number 4, Walking Ballista, up $2.91 to $17.36. Now, this card has been hot, as a lot of people anticipated this would be good in the upcoming meta. And if week 1 is any indication, it appears that those people were correct. This has been in a number of really high-performing decks over the course of the first week, and that includes things like Constrictor, which is still popular, as well as the Mono Red Gift and the Historic deck, which is the new shiny deck that we saw premiere last weekend. Number 3, Gideon of the Trials, up $3.66 to $15.99. So I mentioned earlier that control looks like it's getting better, and not only approach control, but also traditional control. And this is a key part of both of those builds, as well as some other builds that are out there right now in standard. And this card has been seeing some modern play in control too, so it remains hot, and I expect this card to go up even more before it stabilizes. Number 2, Tendershoot Dryad, up $3.84 to $5.69. Big casual card here again. Commander players are looking for this for their Saproling decks. But there's a little more to the story. If you go on Magic Online, there have been some Golgari Saproling decks actually doing pretty good in some standard tournaments. If that build can convert its success into paper in a major tournament sometime soon, this card could spike. It's definitely one to watch. Number 1, Settle the Wreckage, up $9.92 to $16. It's funny, because when Rivals of Ixalan came out, there were some big changes to the meta. A lot of people dropped the Teamer energy due to the bannings, as well as the new cards entering the format, and went into more builds that are running red, red-black. When that happened, Vraska's Contempt got really hot. All those Teamer players realized, hey, I don't have copies of this card. I really need it for the new decks I'm playing, and that card actually had a really good season last time. I think this is this season's Vraska's Contempt. Now that white's better, more people are looking at control decks and things of that nature, so they're running out there and they're trying to pick up this card, and it had a tremendous week, as you can see here. It looked great week 1, not only in traditional control builds, but also approach. Sometimes you even saw it occasionally in like the white-black vehicles decks. So it's around, it's there in a few different types of builds. This is definitely one to keep an eye on. I do think this will snap back and maybe stabilize sooner than later, considering it had a huge week this week. But this is a card that probably will stay within this price range for a while. All right, let's move on to the world of Modern. And Modern's calmed down a little bit this week. You're going to see a lot of influence here and there from Commander more than anything. But let's see what's losing value. Number 5, Mesmeric Orb, down $1.90 to $22.99. This card really could use a reprint. It does see some Modern play in the mill deck, which even though you don't see a lot of that deck, it can always sneak in there and put up a good result here and there, so you never want to underestimate it. However, the reason this card is going down this week is more due to Commander. When Muldrotha was announced a few weeks ago, a lot of Commander players immediately started thinking about cards that could interact with it. This was one of the early ones that started to go up in price, and we're starting to see that snapback now. Number 4, Goblin Lore from 10th edition, down $2.06 to $32.99. The other versions are staying relatively stable this week. Now, don't panic. Hollow One's not going anywhere. This card is still amazing. Hollow One's still amazing. But it just had a lot of aggressive spiking recently, so this is just an adjustment as the price normalizes. Number 3, Dark Confidant. This is the Modern Masters 2015 version, down $2.33 this week to $85.24. The other copy is staying relatively stable. Now, unlike the last card, I'm going to tell you with this one, panic, because Bob's been having a rough month. First off, Jund has been underperforming pretty severely. A lot of people expected more from the deck, And without Jund performing well, this card loses a lot of its value. So unless that changes, this is going to keep going down. The other issue we've seen with Bob is just simply the fact that humans decks are running less and less of this. As a matter of fact, the more successful ones are running like 1 of. Now I'm seeing decks running 0. So that's also going to hurt the value of this card quite a bit. Be careful with this one. I want to buy it this week. Wait and see what happens with the card. Number 2, Liliana of the Veil. This is the Modern Masters 2017 version, down 475 to 115.03. So the newer version of the card taking a nice drop this week. Now, partially you could expect this because she has been increasing pretty aggressively. You could argue that this card was due for a snapback and an adjustment. I think that's partially what we're seeing this week. However, if Jund was performing the way a lot of people thought it would, I don't think this would be going down close to $5 at this point either. Now, I wouldn't expect this card to drop as aggressively as Bob is because it is doing well in decks like Traverse Death Shadow, which is another popular build. You'll find this sometimes like out of the sideboard of like Hollow One, usually 2 of in that build, not to mention the Legacy play it sees. So I do think Liliana does continue to go down, maybe get a little closer to the $100 mark, but I wouldn't expect this to bottom out or anything like that. Number 1, Mox Opal. 2 versions here. Modern Masters 2015 going down $277 to $102. Scars of Mirrodin going down $10 to $99.99. This card was long overdue for a price adjustment and some normalization, honestly. It's been spiking for a number of weeks right now, and it just sees extensive modern play. The Ironworks deck, which is very popular recently, of course, Lantern Control, Affinity, all very popular decks. So this card has been spiking, and finally it starts to calm down and find a more normalized price point. It's still expensive though, sitting around $100. As a matter of fact, if this card does not get reprinted in the next 6 to 8 months, I wouldn't be shocked to see this sitting around $110, $120 very consistently. Alright, before we get into our top 5 hot modern legal cards, there's one honorable mention I wanted to bring up. And that's Krark Clan Ironworks, which of course I just mentioned, up $3.89 to $17.50. This is an uncommon that could really use a reprint, as a matter of fact. But this deck is just doing really well now and gaining popularity more and more each week. Alright, let's look at the top 5 modern legal cards that have gained value this week. Number 5, a card that actually has nothing to do with modern, Patron of the Moon, up 402 to 571. This is being driven by Commander and its interaction with the new card from Dominaria, Techova Benthic Druids, so this plays really well with that card. Number 4, Hisamaru Hound of Khanda, up 527 to 1475. Now, before you say, oh, another Commander card on the modern list, well, actually, this is seeing some modern play. If you go on Magic Online right now, there are some aggressive white and white-red decks that are running this and using Mox Amber, believe it or not, and they're doing pretty well. I would not be shocked to see that converted into a major paper tournament and a good result, maybe within the next few weeks. So this is a wait and see, definitely, but a lot of people are hedging their bets already on this card, as you can see by the price spike. Aside from that, though, yeah, it's also a really good Commander card and helps you turn on your things like Mox Amber. Number 3, River Kelpie, up 647 to 922. Okay, this one's a Commander card. I got no excuse for you here. This one is just simply being driven by the fact that people are continually looking for things to do with Muldrotha, and this is a very good option. It doesn't hurt, too, that this is a Shadowmoor rare, and if you remember from previous videos, Shadowmoor has a very conservative print run compared to other modern era Magic sets due to a recession in the game during that time. So when a rare from the set does get attention, and sometimes even commons and uncommons too, you do tend to see some spikes, and that's what's going on here. Number 2, Retract, up 678 to 1185. Yeah, this is a card that actually was real hot a number of months ago. Since then, it retracted a little bit, but it has a bounce back this week. Yeah, I know, I did it. So anyway, why is this going up? Well, a couple reasons. The Cheerios deck, which never really went away, it just never broke into the top tier of Modern. There are some people trying to see if Joyra can make it better. So you've been seeing a lot of brewers, a lot of people streaming that version of the deck recently. So it did get some attention on the card. Don't know if it's going to push the deck to top tier or anything, but I think it's pretty cool. Aside from that, maybe the bigger reason is Saffron Olive on MTG Goldfish actually featured the Cheerios deck on the website this week. So that never hurts pricing either. I would expect some snapback next week. Number 1, Steam Vents, up 1263 to 3897. This is the Guild Pack version, so another one of these original Guild Pack lands going up in value. We've seen that with Stomping Grounds recently. Now with Steam Vents, not surprising. I mean, this thing's all over modern mana bases, and it has been undervalued. I do realize that Return to Ravnica block brought a lot of shock lands out into the marketplace, and they have been slowly absorbed over the last few years, but now it's getting to the point where there is renewed interest, especially in these original ones. So keep an eye on that. Until these get reprinted at some point again, I do expect all of these to grow, not just the originals, but also the reprints. All right, the vintage spotlights. Okay, where do I begin with this? Let me just cut to the chase. A few weeks ago, we were talking about how there were people buying up and manipulating the market around the masterpieces. Well, I think that sort of strategy has now crossed over into basically all buyouts for the most part. So to catch you up, if you're not aware, basically when people go out there and they buy up a card, they'll target a certain card, they'll buy all the cheap copies of the card, and then they'll sell it back to the market. What happens is the scarcity causes inflation. The cards that are listed a little bit higher are the ones that get picked up as the current value by sites like MTG Goldfish, MTG Stocks, MTG Price. So players will see that a card went up in value, and simply they just can't find any cheaper copies because they were bought out. The person who bought them out will go ahead and resell them now at a higher price, and usually they try to turn it around very quickly because they will buy the cards on credit. They want to sell them before they have to pay the interest. Typically how it works. Recently, though, it's gotten a little more manipulative, where people will do that, but they will also list a copy or two of the card at an extremely high price point, thus throwing off those market websites. So you'll go to your MTG Goldfish and you'll see a card spiked something like $500 this week. Well, what's going on? Well, it was a buyout, but when I say buyout nowadays, it doesn't just mean they bought out the card. It means there's also extremely high listings throwing off the median price of the card. And because of that, unfortunately, what you're getting is a lot of incredible market manipulation right now in the vintage market, and it's just gotten out of control. So I'm going to show you a number of vintage cards today that have had extreme spikes over the course of the week. I'm going to tell you what they say they've gone up on MTG Goldfish, and then I'm going to tell you what they actually sold for on eBay. When it comes to eBay pricing, I took all the sold listings from the last 7 days and took an average, and that gives us a better idea of what people are actually paying for the card and gets us past the market manipulation. So before we get into that, I did have one card that was going down I wanted to point out. And that's Mistress Factory from Antiquities, the Fall variant, down 70.25 this week to 39.42. The reason I pointed this out is because this is a card that has been the target of market manipulation recently. And if you were holding out and you still wanted a copy of it, you might be able to find a decent price this week. So keep an eye out for it if it's something you're interested in. As a matter of fact, if you can find these for $30, $40, I do think they're good pickups, definitely long term, because it is a good card to have in your collection that is starting to disappear as time goes on, especially ones in good condition. Okay, let's get into some of these cards that are being manipulated right now. We're going to start off with some versions of Strip Mine. This is the Antiquities Even Horizon variants of $53.31 to $170, according to MTG Goldfish today. Is that true? What are they going for this week on eBay? $57. So really big difference. Let's move on to the next one. Strip Mine, this is the No Horizon variant from Antiquities, up $89.89 to $125. Is that one for real? Even worse, $30. These are selling all week long for $30. Strip Mine, the Uneven Horizon variant, up $92.31 to $125.16. What are these really going for? Yeah, $15 on average. Insane. So this is really severe market manipulation. Okay, let's look at All Hallows Eve. Unlike Strip Mine, this card is on the reserve list. It's up $83.20 this week to $307. Fantastic reserve list Legends card. It actually has Christopher Rush art, and it also has a real-world reference. I mean, this card has been hot in the past. We've seen it sitting around the $100, $125 mark for a long time. Is it really a $300 card now? $152. So it has gone up a little bit recently, and probably for all the reasons I mentioned, it's a really unique card, but definitely not a $300 card. Ali from Cairo, up $89.88 to $274.69. Another big jump this week. Is this one for real? I mean, I remember not too long ago, you could pick these up for $80. I was doing videos about a year ago saying buy these. So, what's the real deal here? $150. It has gone up over the last year or so, but not to the extent that it looked like it might have gone up. Serendib Jin from Arabian Nights, much like the previous couple cards, another reserve list card, up 104.55 to 237.50. Well, what's it really going for? $95, not even $100. That's crazy. Silvan Library. Okay, this one's not a reserve list card. This is from Legends. You can find, obviously, much cheaper versions of it. Up 119.21 this week to 230. That's a huge increase. Is that for real? No, these go for $72. Still kind of expensive, though, but they go for around $72. Another card that's been reprinted many times, not on the reserve list, but it's not all about the printing. This is just a really cool version of the card. Mistress Factory from Antiquities, the winter variant. It has been really hot recently. This week it goes up $128 to $749. Is that for real? $235. So still expensive. This thing ain't cheap, but it's not a $700-800 card by any means. Alright, here is a reserve list card from Unlimited. It's Sedge Troll. Yup, Sedge Troll. Up $173.70 to $199. This can't be for real, right? Now, this was reprinted in Revised. You can find a cheaper version. The Revised version actually is being manipulated a little bit this week, too. It only went up a few dollars, though, because there's a lot more copies out there, but they attempted to do it Revised. Let's see what's going on. $36. It's still expensive, in my opinion, but okay, $36. Eureka from Legends on the reserve list, up $244.71 to $575. All right, make your guess. What do you think? $240. Again, still expensive, but the price you see right now in MTG Goldfish is like double. Another Void. This thing has been crazy the last couple weeks, up $367.34 to $1,135. Yes, another Legends reserve list card. What's the real story here? Is this a $1,000 card? $356. That's actually been the price point of this card for months, and actually maybe a year or more at this point. And if you looked at the market sites, you would think it's gone up a lot. It actually really hasn't moved. And our last one we'll look at today, Candelabra of Tawnos at $418.59 to $1,200. Now, this is another reserve list card, Antiquities this time. Is it really a $1,200 card, though? $504. Another card that has been sitting around this price point for a long time. $500, $600 is pretty typical for this card for a number of months now. So, really hasn't moved at all. Okay, we'll wrap things up with a couple short spotlights, one of which is Pauper. Two cards I wanted to show you here. We have Prismatic Strands, up 32 cents to $288. A part of the Kuldaltha Boros deck, which continues to be very popular. And then Snow-Covered Island from Ice Age, up 48 cents to $364. You'll find these, of course, in Is It Delver decks to Power Scred. And one last Commander card, even though I know we talked a lot of Commander throughout the video. One last card I wanted to show you, though. And that's Marrow Nar, up $323 this week to $1527. And again, Dominaria is behind this one with Rat Colony. It's got a lot of people thinking about maybe making a Rat Commander deck, and this is a good Rat Commander. Alright, that's our Market Watch for this week. I wanted to spend a little time on those vintage buyouts because I do want to make sure everybody understands what's going on there and nobody overpays. I know a lot of the viewers, myself included, probably aren't in the market to buy any of those cards. They're just way too expensive. But I know a lot of people save up for maybe years to get a card that they really are attached to. Maybe it's a nostalgia thing for them or whatever. And they just want to buy one of those cards. I'd hate to see someone lose hundreds of dollars off of a card when it just isn't necessary. So just want to get that information out there to y'all. But anyway, until next time, thanks for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.